Let's forget everything we know about dot products for the moment. I have two vectors a and b, and I want a number which tells me something about the relationship between the directions of a and b. Specifically, I want a number that tells me when a and b are pointing in the same direction, roughly, or when they are perpendicular, not pointing in the same direction at all, or are pointing in opposite directions. It's quite natural that we find a number that is positive when the vectors are roughly in the same direction, 0 when the vectors are perpendicular to each other, and negative when the vectors are in the opposite direction. That number is actually the cosine of the angle between the two vectors. When the two vectors are pointing in the same direction, the angle between them is 0, and the cosine attains its most positive value, 1. As the angle between the vectors widen, they are pointing less and less in the same direction, and the cosine falls. When the vectors finally widen up to become perpendicular, cosine 90 degrees is 0. As the vectors become even wider apart, forming obtuse angles, the cosine falls to become negative. The wider the angle, the more negative. When the vectors are at the widest apart, at 180 degrees, cosine reaches its most negative value, -1. We now have a number that tells us the direction. But who thought of using this weird function called cosine to produce positive and negative numbers that indicate direction? How does cosine do its magic?